Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayom Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivajaka Acharya Astateva Shata Sri Sima Chidandi Goswami Shila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Sthitira Sata Sri Srimad Chidandi Goswami Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Prem se kaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Dev Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the third canto, the second chapter. Now, I forgot my glasses, so I may have to ask somebody to, unless I can expand this. It's text 18, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Huh? You have reading glasses? Let's see if they work. Let's see. Oh, okay. Plus, this also has Zoom capability, so we're good. So, we're going to read this verse. Very short purport, but we have lots of other topics. Raghunandan Das Thakur and Vamsi Das Babaji. Oh, Hare Krishna. Kova amusyangri sarojarenum Vishmartum ishita puman vijigran Yo vishfurad bruvitapena bhumer Param kritante natirashchakaro Kova amusyangri sarojarenum Vismartum ishita puman vijigran Yo visfurad bhruvitapena bhumer Bharam kritantena tiraschakara. Others? Gova umusyangri sarojarenum Vishmartam ishita puman vijigran Yo visvarad bruvita pena bhumer Haram kridantena tiraschakara. Others? Any Any ladies like to chant? You have the, okay. Well, we will do, okay. Kaha. Who else? Va. Either. Amushya. The Lord's. Angri. Feet. Suroja. No, where am I here? Something's, okay, now. It went to the next verse. Okay, there we go. Saroja, dust, this is, what is this? Saroja Renum, dust of the lotus. Vishmartum, to forget. Ishita, may be able. Puman, person. Vijigran, smelling. Yaha, one who. Visforat, expanding. Bru vitapena, by the leaves of the eyebrows. Bhume, of the earth. Bharam, burden. Krita antena, by death blows. Tiraschakara, executed. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Who, after smelling the dust of His lotus feet even once, could ever forget it? Simply by expanding the leaves of His eyebrows, Krishna has given the death blow to those who were burdening the earth. Purport. Lord Krishna cannot be accepted as one of the human beings, even though He played the role of an obedient son. His actions were so extraordinary that by the simple raising of His eyebrows, He could deliver death blows to those who were burdening the earth. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Nalangayate Girim Jadkripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. Smelling the lotus feet of the Lord even once, who can forget it? To have a taste, to have an experience of Krishna directly is such an event that even just the slightest perception here is described, just to smell the dust of Krishna's feet will stick within one's heart and transform one's life. The power of Krishna is being described here. Krishna's power. How by just lifting his eyebrow. I was trying to remember or think of a specific instance where Krishna simply gave a little, and then the death blow comes. And I couldn't quite picture. Does anyone recall any specific, a specific instance of Krishna lifting his eyebrow? And there are a few things we heard, subtle things like Jarasandha, the story of Jarasandha. How Bhima was fighting with Jarasandha and couldn't defeat him. And Krishna simply, he did something like this, right? He made some motion, or maybe he went like that. So he just made a little indication. And Bhima got the message, and Jarasandha was finished. As Balaram simply touches Ramaharshan Sutta with a blade of grass, and he's finished. There are other, of course, when Krishna fights with Kamsa, then he enjoys a little bit more, activity. But still, all it is just the fist of a 15-year-old boy against the mighty Kamsa, and just a blow by his fist, and he's finished. So, by Krishna's indication, the whole world, just by when Arjuna sees Krishna as the universal form, he simply sees him open his mouth, and everyone is coming in the mouth of death. So Krishna is all-powerful. With any part of his body, with any aspect of his motion, his movement, he can do anything. He can destroy a dynasty by lifting his eyebrow. So we're also today celebrating the appearance, is it the appearance of Raghunanda? Disappearance of Raghunanda. And both disappearances, okay. Appearance, disappearance. So Raghunanda Thakur also demonstrated or showed us in his life how Krishna can do anything in any way that he wants. As the story unfolds, Raghunanda was born in the area called Srikhanda, which I'm not fully familiar with, but anyway, it's famous in Bengal, for the appearance of different devotees. And he was the son of Mukunda Pandit, I think he was called, because Mukunda was a physician. And don't think that I'm greatly scholarly and I know all these things. It's just that half an hour ago I read upon it. So fortunately I have half an hour's of memory and I can relate what I've read. And if I forget, I've got it on my device. But anyhow, Mukunda, and we'll hear later about how Mukunda is described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Raghunanda was his son. And as a physician, he would have to sometimes attend to he was actually the physician to the king. So he would attend to his royal duties, and he would have to go out. And at one time, it was the time for doing the offering to the deity in the home. And Mukunda, he said, oh, my son is, I guess he's just about old enough. Perhaps he was 5 or 6 years old, very young boy. But Mukunda thought, yeah, it's time. It's time for him. He can start to help me in my service. So he instructed his son, I have to go out for some time. So please, you take care of Gopal, I think was the name of their deity. You please take care of Gopal. Very nicely, very, very carefully. You cleanse everything, you take care of everything very nicely, and at the noontime, you prepare something wonderful for Gopal to eat, and you offer him and give him, make sure that he gets his food to eat. So Gopal said, oh, Raghunandan said, oh, now I've got some chance to serve Gopal. This is so wonderful. He prepared, he was very careful, and he made a wonderful lunch for Gopal, and he came, and he brought it before Gopal, and he said, okay, now Gopal, eat, please eat, here is your food, eat. And the food is sitting there. And then, Gopal, you have to eat. My father has instructed me. My father has ordered me to give you this food and to make sure you eat. You make sure that Gopal eats. And Gopal's not eating. And he starts to cry. Gopal, what will happen if you don't eat? My father will be very upset. He said, I have to make sure that you eat. And then Gopal eats. He eats it all. He fills himself up with Raghunanda's offering. And Raghunanda is so happy. So happy. And Mukunda comes back, his father comes back and says, oh, thank you so much, my dear son, for taking care of Gopal so nicely. Now please, bring me some of his prasad so I can enjoy. And Raghunanda says, Father, no, he ate everything. He ate it all. He didn't leave anything. Raghunanda, what are you talking about? Yes, Father, he did. He ate everything. He ate it all. Maybe prepare something more and offer it. Because by this time, Mukunda was wondering, what's going on here? This is my son. He's never lied. He's never told anything that's untrue. What has happened? And so he hides himself while Raghunanda prepares some nice laddu. And he comes, he says, Gopal, please, my father's ordered me, you have to eat some more. And Gopal eats half the laddu and leaves the other half. Mukunda's watching as all of this is taking place and just being astonished. And realizing that this is no ordinary person. This Raghunandan is no ordinary person. That half laddu apparently is still in the temple of Mukunda in Srikanda. But let us fast forward to the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri. There's this wonderful, wonderful relation in the Madhya Lila, the second chapter, begins around text 80 or so. So all the devotees of Bengal have come to celebrate Rath Yatra and to be with Mahaprabhu. And they have observed all the festivals. And now Chaturmasya is beginning to conclude. They've observed Deepavali, they've observed all of the different festivals. And it's described, I was just reading it before class, how, first of all, we find Mahaprabhu and Nityananda going off into some solitary place, and they begin to talk. amongst each other. Others cannot hear. It's interesting, this is something for someone to research, because it says there that although the devotees could not hear, they could understand. Now what they understood is not described, but something they understood. Perhaps what was about to happen, which is that the Lord begins to bid his associates farewell. He begins by ordering Sri Advaita to preach and Nityananda to go and preach. And one by one he interacts with the devotees. He spends a considerable time speaking about his mother Shachi, and how it's an amazing passage where Mahaprabhu, just try to picture this. Just try to picture this in your mind. Here you have Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu sitting there, surrounded by let's say we're all, here's Gauranga, here is Gauranga, he's there on the altar. So there's Gauranga, he's there, and he's sitting, and we're all there, and at some distance, and in the front somewhere there's Sri Advaita, there's Sri Nityananda, there's Srivas, there's Raghava Pandit. All these wonderful devotees, and Mahaprabhu is describing their glories, and he's instructing them. So many wonderful interactions take place. He describes how he feels that he must have been mad to take sannyas and to leave his mother. By leaving his mother Sachi, it is like the act of a crazy person. And yet, he's not left. He describes how he goes there. He describes how he goes every day to enjoy. Again, we hear how the Lord can enjoy. Not just by lifting his eyebrow, by simply by hearing our prayers, the Lord can eat the prasad. And he does this with Mother Sachi as well. With Mother Sachi, again, he does the same thing. He eats it. And Mother Sachi thinks, she doesn't see Mahaprabhu. But she thinks, have I gone mad? And she prepares again. And so in this pastime, Mahaprabhu is telling, I'm not sure who is it, he's instructing someone, maybe it's later on, he instructs someone to tell her, to describe that on this day, it was Ekadashi, you remember how this happened, and he relates the whole thing so that she can get confidence that yes, I do come there, I do eat what you've prepared. He says the same thing to Raghava Pandit. He describes how Raghava Pandit, how his devotion for serving Krishna in great detail. Raghava Pandit is very wealthy, so he's able to acquire whatever he wants to offer to Krishna, but he's still very, very particular. And that pastime is there. I think someone related it earlier about how he got some wonderful coconuts, fresh coconuts to offer to his deities. And the servant who brought them, while bringing them, touched the threshold, the roof of the door. And then Raghava Pandit, although these were the most expensive coconuts you could find, he simply said, throw them out. He threw them over the wall because they had been touched. He said, the people are passing through this door, that dust is contaminated. In this way, he served his deities expertly. And Mahaprabhu said again, I come there. I come there. He told Nityananda that I come when you are dancing, and I dance with you. So in this way, Mahaprabhu relates how, as Krishna, he is able to, he has all power. He can be wherever he wants to be. He comes now to speak about Mukunda, and he asks Mukunda, so is Mukunda the father of Raghunandan, or is Raghunandan the father of Mukunda? And Mukunda replies, no, Raghunandan is the father, because it is from Raghunandan that I have received such extraordinary mercy of Krishna. And Mukunda is described, it's interesting because the Lord instructs Mukunda to prosper spiritually and materially. Because he has a position, so he can prosper in that and serve Krishna. Raghunandan in the Gora Ganodesh Deepika, I believe. And by the way, I was curious about this, maybe one of you know, because the term Gora Ganodesha Deepika seems to indicate that the book describes, because I've never read it, I've read about it, that it's Gora Gana, the associates, and Desha, the places. So, and Deepika meaning illumination. So I'm curious to know if in Gora Ganodesha Deepika, or Upadesh could be instruction. Gora Gan Upadesh, it could be that too. Yeah. Yeah. So he's described as being Pradumya, or one Manjari, and I don't remember the name. So that is our Raghunandan Thakur, and we can remember him on this day. But today we also must remember Vamsidas Babaji, an extraordinary personality. And I believe there's actually a full book written by, is it Bhakti Vikash Maharaj? Who's written a book on Vamsidas Babaji. Vamsidas Babaji appeared, where did he, I read about it. He appeared in Bengal. It was Bangladesh at the time. Well, it wasn't Bangladesh at the time, but it's now Bangladesh. Oh yes, in Mymensingh. It was Mymensingh, which is a area of northern Bangladesh. Sylhet, I believe it's a Sylhet area, very a stronghold of Vaishnava appearances in those areas. But there's not much known about his early life. He apparently was married and had a son, but at some early point in his life, he abandoned everything and he simply renounced the whole world. And he entered into an extraordinary state of Krishna consciousness. A state which is very difficult to even understand. He entered into a state of complete absorption in service to his deities. But his relationship with those deities, which were Gora, Nityananda, Gadadhar, and Gopal, I believe. His relationship with those deities were that of a servant with a personal relationship in which he had no conception that they were anything but completely alive, capable of anything, and responsible. He held them responsible. As the masters, he held them responsible. You are master, I am your servant. So, and to give an example, at one time, he would not lock his kutir. He said, why should I lock? The master is here. If the master cannot look after his own house, then what can I do? So one time, someone had offered some nice gold necklace to his deity. And he comes back after collecting some vegetables or something for his service, and the necklace is missing. And he begins to chastise Gora and what have you done? You let somebody in and you let them just steal that valuable necklace. He became so upset with his deity that he tied them up and took them and threw them in the Ganga. Said, you have to learn a lesson to be more careful. Just like a nanny, right? I mean, he was both the servant, just like in a house of children. And he felt, you're the masters of this house, but you're acting like little boys, and you're being very naughty, and you have to be taught a lesson. And in this way, he would talk, and he would express, and he would do all, and people would look at this, and they would just, who is this? Who is this? Some would say he's mad, he's crazy. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur could recognize. He could recognize who is this, the nature of this great soul. He could recognize that this is the real thing. This is real, full absorption in service to Krishna, where the distinction between deity and alive is, we don't see the difference. There's the other story of, was it Gauridas Pandit, is it? I believe, in Ambika Kalna, where the Lord and Nityananda and Mahaprabhu were there, and they gave the deities to Gauridas Pandit, or anyway, they were there. The deities of Gaur Nitai were there. They were there.
He wanted to make deities of them.
He wanted to make deities. He made deities.
He was missing. He was like, I can't stand to be without your association. So that's what they told him. Okay, make deities of us.
Make deities, right?
Non-different from our deities, so we'll always be able to.
We'll always be there. So then, so Gauridas Pandit, so he made these deities, and they were there. And now Nityananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they said, very good, we're here. Now we'll go. We're here, we'll go. No. You can't go. All right, we won't go. And then the deities are there and they switch, or the deities start walking out.
The deities just walk off the altar. Like,
the deities walk off the altar, and they come on the altar. And no, you can stay, you go. And this goes back and forth for a few times until I think Gauridas can't figure it. Anyway, ultimately the deities, or is it Gauranga? Or who is it? They stay. Today, how many of you have been to Ambika Kalna? No one? You haven't been to the temple of Gauridas Pandit? All right, so you must go. You must go. But you have to be careful because the pujaris there, they'll only open the doors for a very short time. They don't want Gaur Nitai to leave. So they'll open the doors, you get like 2 seconds darshan, and they close them quickly. That's what happens in the temple of Gauridas Pandit in Kalna. So in the same way, Vamsidas Babaji, he saw, for him, this was Gaura, this was Nitai. There was no conception of deity or the actual personality that we may have because we don't see Krishna fully. We don't see Radha Govinda fully. We don't have the eyes. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena. We don't have that premanjana, that ointment, that salve of prema to see Krishna. Yam Shama Sundaram chinta guna supa. Govindam Adi Purusham Dhamaham Bhajami. But Vamsidas Babaji, he could see. When this happened in Navadvip, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he ordered his disciples not to go and visit Vamsidas. Not because Vamsidas was exhibiting something, he said, not that he's in Maya and he's, mistreating or offending Krishna in this way. No, but because you cannot understand this bhava. You will make offense. You'll see him and think, how can somebody behave like this? This is one of the lessons that we have to learn. Like Mukunda, the father of Raghunandan, was also an exemplar of this. Is described that externally Mukunda seemed to be a materialistic person. He was a royal physician, and he engaged. Externally, it appeared to be just an ordinary person. But it's described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita how he, at one point in his service to the king, was doing something. The king was sitting on his raised throne and receiving the services of Mukunda, and one servant came with a peacock fan to shade the king. And when Mukunda, when Mukunda saw the peacock fan, he became overwhelmed and fainted, fell off the throne. The king was, of course, quite disturbed. What's happened to my royal physician? And came down to inquire, and the Mukunda said, I have some sort of epilepsy, and sometimes these things happen. We find this on a number of occasions where we find, like with Pundarik, Vidyanidhi, we see that externally there's an appearance of opulence, or in the case of Bhaktisiddhanta Babaji, an appearance of madness. In the case of Jora Bharat, an appearance of what is the politically correct way to say someone is developmentally challenged. I think that's what they call it now. Developmentally challenged. When we would call them retard or whatever. That was right. That's what we would, some sort of kind of offensive term we used to use.
Slow, like in music.
Well, that's now. In our day, someone who was a retard was very looked down upon, and we had no real. We didn't I mean, that's one kind of good thing, I guess. That modern society tries to help people look beyond the superficial and see that people are people. But for us, it's still very difficult to see who's actually a devotee. Who's truly a devotee. So we have to follow Mahaprabhu's instruction. Trinara pisi nichena, turora pisi hishnana, amanina manadena. Everyone we give respect. We see everyone. That Krishna is there within. And Krishna devotion is there within. Either awake or waiting to be awoken. Like you are doing every day out on Harinam. Just singing out the names of Krishna, and as people are going by, some are catching. And all are getting the Sukriti. So Vamsivas, one other time, he used to serve the Lord with he had like 2 pots to cook with, 2 metal pots. And I'm not sure, I can't remember whether these were some new pots that were given or whatever, but there were some pots that he used to do his cooking with, and again someone comes and steals the pots. And he turns to Gora and Nitai. So okay, No pots, no food. You let the pots go, how am I going to cook for you? I can't cook for you. If you don't get the pots back, then you're not getting anything to eat. So the next morning, someone comes back and brings a pot. And this is Nityananda's pot. He says, okay, Nitai, you get to eat today, but Gora, you get nothing. Until you bring your pot, you're not getting anything. And the next morning, or maybe a little later, somebody knocks and brings Gora's pot back. And now you both can eat. This was Vansidas Babaji's relationship with Krishna. Intimate. We have also, I think is it Sanatana Goswami, who, his relationship with his deities, how he would offer them whatever came. And how does the story go? But he was like, there's...
Deity asked for salt.
Yeah, he asked for salt. Right, he asked for salt. And then we have Gopal Bhatta. And he's worshiping Krishna. And someone brings some nice ornaments and cloth to worship, he's worshiping Shalagram. And he's thinking, oh, how nice it would be that I could decorate you with these clothings. But you've chosen to appear without any hands and arms and legs or anything like that, so what can I do? And then the next morning, Radharaman has appeared. Radharaman has appeared. So this is the extraordinary relationship that the pure, fully freed devotees have with Krishna. We're making progress step by step in this path. Our business now is to see Krishna and his deity form in this way and to talk with, because Srila Prabhupada talks about this. He says, the time will come when you can speak with Krishna. He will speak with you. He will speak with you in the same way that we are speaking now. He will speak with you. He spoke like that with Srila Prabhupada. There are instances, devotees, I remember, I think it was Prahlada Priya was relating to me, how somehow he was in Los Angeles and somehow he was like right next to Srila Prabhupada in front of Rukmini Dwarkadish. And he just was like right next. And he kind of glanced over and he saw Srila Prabhupada was moving his lips. But there were like these gaps, he would say something and then little gap, and then again. Obviously there was a conversation going on. And Srila Prabhupada would relate sometimes how he'd had conversations with Krishna in this way. Sometimes I recall one instance where, a conversation about how the sort of begging a little forgiveness for leaving Radha and Krishna in the hands of us. For us inexperienced, mlecha devotees. He prayed that they would forgive us and they would keep us. So this is the all the transcendental absolute nature of the Lord. That in any form he desires to appear, whether it is a form that we see that moves around or a form that we see but apparently is not moving. He has full presence. And what to speak of in the form, he has full presence in his name. And that's where we begin to try to connect, to see Krishna, not hoping, oh, I'm going to, come on, Krishna, talk with me. But, come on, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Be present, let me hear you, let me see you by hearing you. Let me see you by hearing. And let me engage in a conversation with you by chanting your holy name with sincerity and hearing. This is the dialogue that we want with Krishna now. That connection, chanting and hearing, knowing that Krishna is present. Krishna will reciprocate with us in his holy names. So we can remember Vamsidas Babaji and his extraordinary level of connection with Krishna. Not that we try to imitate it, or even, but it happens to some rare souls who have fully become akinchana without any material aspiration, only service. We can honor it, remember it, and hope that by that remembrance, some of those qualities may also be given to us. Hare Krishna. Anyone else have some other recollections about either of these personalities? Yes, Maharaj.
Bhaktisiddhanta would have somebody bring the remnants of Vamsidas to give all his people.
Ah, yeah.
That's how elevated he was.
They would transport it long distances and would be seemingly spoiled externally, but everyone he would still honor it with great.
Yes, yeah. Vamsidas traveled too. He moved about.
Never wore clothes, just Gopin or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all he owned. He owned a kopin. It describes that he owned like three things, kamandalu, a kopin, and something else that I don't remember. Just, he had nothing. Yeah.
So many things. So he went a long way, but he never passed through here. He never got dirty. He never took a bath, but he didn't get dirty.
To hear about these individuals also is, for us, I believe that it's important to give us that sense, yes, this is, this prema bhakti is a real thing. And when you see it manifest in someone like that, then, and not, when we see it manifest in Srila Prabhupada, we can understand, yes, this is a real thing. Okay, and at least for myself, I know, I'm so far away from that. But I can see it. And Prabhupada has given us the path to get to it. Just have to stay on it. So, yeah. You had something?
I have
A question?
question, yes.
Oh.
It's about at what stage do we, those who speak with Krishna, at what stage, Krishna, we can say that is a real thing, not just an imaginary thing. It's not just an imagination, but it's a real conversation. At what stage?
And you mean in terms of the stages of bhakti and?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know it's not the stage I'm in. I know that. But that's an artha nivritti, so that's, yeah.
Sometimes
Ashakti.
I found myself talking to Krishna or believing, but in reality, it's just something that
Well, we must talk to Krishna. We must speak to Krishna. But to think, oh, now whatever comes in my mind, is that Krishna speaking in my mind, or is that my mind speaking? Krishna does say that he is the origin, matak smritir jnanam apohanam cha. So he says that, in one sense, all thought and is coming from him. But specifically, is this Krishna or is this Maya? We can judge by the content, what's being said and how does it relate with Srila Prabhupada and our gurus? Because we always have to confirm through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra what we may believe or believe to be Krishna's speaking to us in some way. But we don't want to make a mistake here, because yes, we may be imagining something. And therefore we have to always confirm with Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And then we may find, yes, Krishna has spoken to me in some way. Perhaps not in the, like with a microphone, but in some way Krishna is speaking to us. And we can take heart from that. Because Krishna is taking care of us. That he promises. We are his now. Yeah.
Also, you could say Krishna speaks through you through the bona fide representative, through the Guru. And you can have a direct conversation with your Guru.
And the Shastras. How many times, I'm sure many of you have had that experience of having questions in your mind. And then someone opens a book, or you open a book, or someone sits in the class, or something happens, and there's the answer. This is Krishna. So, but like you said, it's something we can sometimes, in order to confirm what we believe to be Krishna's direct. Krishna is doing everything, right? For the karmis too, the materialist, he's giving knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness. It's all coming from Super Soul. But we're talking about Krishna, Govinda, our worshipable Lord Krishna, how he's taking care of us personally.
Say that when one controls the mind, the super soul is reached. So at that point, one can hear the super soul.
Yeah, there appears to be, and I can't speak from experience, to be some, when you can really be able to see, okay, this is these thoughts are the creation of my mundane modes of nature. And this, when you can clearly distinguish between the mind, the mental activity that is the product of the modes of nature, and what is Krishna speaking. I believe that our position is simply to get to the point where we hear Krishna speaking in the mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When we can really hear the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra without all those thoughts produced out of the mundane sphere, that's the first level. That takes, it bit by bit, let us all just try to chant nicely. I was thinking this morning, maybe we could, in our temple here, maybe start some regular sessions just on chanting, just on japa. I do feel, now I'm just going to just take 1 second to feel just a little advice. Maybe, I know it's not easy to sit down like this. But I see so many of us, and I appreciate that. I also sometimes need to sit on a chair. But there is, at least if you are sitting on one of the benches or something like here, get your back straight. Get your back straight. Lift it up. Get your breath in order and chant. Not like this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Not going to help. Sit properly. Prabhupada gave very few instructions for us to chant. Basically 3. Chant sincerely. Let the words come from your heart. Hear attentively and sit properly. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Vamsi Das Babaji ki Jai. Raghunandan Gaur ki Jai. HG Pancharatna ki Jai.